Hi, boys and girls. We are going to be reading Chapter 9 of The War with Grandpa. So please open up to page 30. Chapter 9, it is called Grandpa Jack. Now, I have to tell you about my Grandpa Jack and what happened when he finally came to our house to live and how he settled in and everything like that. And that's another too long sentence. I used to know my grandparents very well when I was little, and they lived close by. I remember they used to come to our house most weekends, and they played with me a lot. But then Grandma got this terrible disease. They call it emphysema, but they spell it emphysema. It comes from smoking cigarettes, which, if anybody does, they have to be crazy. This emphysema made it very hard for Grandma to breathe. Mom said that on windy or cold days, Grandma was not allowed to put a foot outside her house, or any other part of her either. It was around then that Jenny was born, and Grandma and Grandpa moved to Florida. Mom said it was for the warm weather, which was good for Grandma's lungs. I remember being sad when they left. I loved them a lot. I loved how they always wanted to play with me, and almost anything I did was okay with them. Starting then, I saw them only when we would go to their house in Florida at Christmas. The rest of the year, we would talk on the telephone maybe once a week. And then Grandma died. Now Grandpa was alone, and it was hard to think about. I only knew my Grandma and Grandpa together. They were never apart when they saw me and the family. They were a pair like shoes or gloves. But now there was only Grandpa. Dad brought Grandpa home from the airport. He pulled the car up in the driveway and tooted the horn. We all ran outside, and Jenny jumped right on Grandpa's neck as soon as he got out of the car, even though Mom had just said not to. Dad finally had to take her down. Then Grandpa gave me a long hug and held me away to look at me. "You're no Peapod anymore," he said, which was a nickname he would call me. "Petey, you're springing up like a weed. You must have grown 3 inches since Christmas." He smiled at me then, with little lines wrinkling up around his eyes. I smiled back at him. He looked different to me from the last time I'd seen him. The lines and wrinkles in his tan face looked deeper. His shoulders stooped down, and there was kind of a sad look in his eyes, even when he was smiling. And when he finally got into the house, with Dad and me helping to carry Grandpa's things, I could see that Grandpa was limping worse than ever. Grandpa used to be in the construction business until he retired. Building houses, mostly. Years ago, a big piece of wood fell on him and broke his leg. Mom and Grandma always said it never healed right. And now Grandpa had something wrong with his leg that Mom called arthritis. It was late when Grandpa arrived, and we all carried his things upstairs and tried to help him get settled into his room. My room, my old room that was now his. My idea of helpful was to take Grandpa's shirts out of his suitcase and put them into his dresser. Jenny's idea of helpful was to do pirouettes in the middle of the room, banging into everyone. Mom finally shooed Jenny and me out and made us get ready for bed. I did all my go-to bed things and got into my pajamas and went downstairs to the kitchen to say goodnight to Mom and Dad. They were sitting at the kitchen table drinking tea. I knew when I walked in that they were saying private things to each other because they shut up quick when I came in and looked at me kind of funny. Mom looked real sad, like she was getting ready to cry. She hugged me a little extra tight, I thought, and ruffled my hair. I said goodnight. I didn't go back to my room, though. What I did was hang around under the staircase to hear what they were saying. I was right about my mom. She was crying. "He looks so awful," she sobbed. "Please, Sally," I heard my dad said. "He's very tired, you know. It's been a very long day for him. He'll be fine after he gets some rest." "There's just no life in him," Mom said. "No life." "It's only a few months Since she died, Dad said. Since she died, Dad said. He's very depressed. Give it time, hun. I hope you're right, Mom said. I sneaked up the stairs very quietly so my folks couldn't hear me and went to say goodnight to Grandpa. He was sitting on the edge of the bed holding something in his hand. I could see it was a photograph of Grandma in a silver frame. Good night, Grandpa, I said, but I don't think he heard me. He just kept very still, staring at Grandma's face in the picture. My mom was right. I thought as I went up to my room, Grandpa had no life at all. Could you die from being sad? I wondered. Could you? Chapter 10. Another night, another fright. It was still scary upstairs in my new room, maybe even more than it was the night before. The floorboards creaked again, the same shadows and light danced around on the ceiling. I still had the thought that a murderer was waiting outside my door to come in and kill me in my bed. You can laugh all you want. I was scared silly. All right, that was chapter 9 and 10. Please look out for the next two chapters, 11 and 12.